Hello, my name is Jared Williams. I'm a student at UNT, and I live in North Texas. My background is in healthcare, so I am trying to get my master in science and health services administration with a core in data informatics. Right now, I manage a performance improvement team for a large network in North Texas. And essentially, we come up with clinical performance improvement solutions for primary care physicians. And we do this by looking for trends and any information that we can understand from data, from medical data, claims, EMRs, and try to make sense of it. So I've really enjoyed this class so far. That being said, I opted for the more of the dashboard side of the equation for the fourth tier of the project versus doing the Python code. So that was kind of the rationale behind my decision. But let me kind of jump right in. So this is kind of the agenda. The first part, I'll discuss the multivariate data visualization that I created. Part two, I'll go over the large data set that was provided, and then talk about through some of the insights gleaned. Part three, we'll review the data visualization in Tableau. Again, and then part four, this is where I mentioned that I went for the narrative visualization in the dashboards versus doing the Python code. Since I really come from a more clinical background and lean on the technology side, so I definitely appreciated at least being able to take the time to learn some of the Python and especially getting to work in Tableau. For the first part of the multivariate data visualization, in reference to the relationship data that we had to create, I added some more variables to kind of add some color to the variables that were given. I wanted to include age, sex, and the name of the person, just to kind of identify it in the actual visualization by doing a tooltip or hovering over it. And so I'll go over the insights gleaned, but first I'll show you the visualization itself. Okay, so here's the visualization. This was one of this is one of the sections that probably took me the longest because it was open-ended and I really wanted a way to show all of the variables, including the ones that I added. And so this was really the best way to display it and adding different marks for the different the measure values to really to kind of overlay different visualization techniques. I'll quickly kind of go over what this looks like. So the strength of relationship from this axis, the strength 10 would be max, and then 0 is no relationship, and then here is length of relationship. So how long has that relationship been? And then for sex, I wanted something really visually very quick that you can see who this person is and what their sex is. So for females, obviously they're wearing a dress, and a male is this little stick figure here, and the legend is right over on the side. And then so age, I wanted to do something with size, and I was torn between making the size the length or the strength of the relationship, but I eventually thought it would just make more sense to do size for age. You can see here my two kiddos, 5 and 7. They're much smaller than my wife, who are kind of clustered right here, who are on the 10 strength of relationship. So And then I wanted to visually see a difference of family and friends. So I color coded the friends gold and family blue. That's about it for the visualization. One thing that I do want to point out that I didn't like very much, but I kind of settled with is, you have to hover over. It looks like it's just one big person, but it's actually my dad and my sister, my mom, and they're kind of lumped together because they're all older than me, and I've known them since I was born. So I've known them for all 32 years, and they have the same strength of the relationship at a 9. So they're kind of lumped together. But that's par for the course. So I'll talk about the insights gleaned pretty quickly. So I found this really interesting that there was these kind of clusters that I wasn't expecting to find, because I didn't really specifically outline this as a variable inside of my data set. But you can see here in this cohort, these are my parents and my siblings. And so remember, my mom and my dad and my sister right here, and my other sister and my brother. My 2 best friends, they're kind of right there together. My wife and kids are right here. And then I have my work associates right there. So it's, it was interesting that there was actually visible patterns of relationships that I did not outline inside my data set specifically. Part 2. So I'll just pull this one up, exploring the large data set. So this is the data set on crime. And so, essentially I wanted a visualization that you can really see the different types of crimes, and then see what the different crimes are for the code. So, this FBI code 26, you can actually hover over and see the different crimes that represent this, and then looking at the total count of crimes. And then, just, some of the simpler things, you can see that theft is, the biggest crime in the United States from the period of the data that was created. One other thing that I do want to walk through is, the crime over time. I think I found it really significant that, from 2001 to 2015, the kind of the sheer drop right here of crime and that decrease. And I wanted to shade this region to really represent the body of crime is going down. And I thought that this was just really impactful, this kind of dark area kind of going away. So I thought that was really interesting. This isn't, you don't hear it on the news that there's, all this crime going down. We just kind of hear bad stuff on the news, not that it's going up. So if this data is representative of the full United States, I think it's quite telling. Okay, so part 3, the data visualization in Tableau with the regional sales data. I'll go over the insights gleaned, but I'll show you the visualization first. So the visualization, I didn't change much from Dr. Habib's suggestion to kind of put profit and sales in the columns and rows respectively, and then the categories and color, and then region and the details. So looking at this. This is, what I do a lot in my work is try to find correlations and relations in data, specifically in visuals, and even in just the numbers, simple pivots. So that's kind of the direction when I was gonna, the prompt was to give a report or kind of suggestions and insight on the data to the senior vice president. So what I would really want to point out, I'll get right into what I found. So I generally had the assumption that we should see, the more profit, the more sales that you do, we should see an increase of profit, and we kind of did see that that normal trend. It's not a super strong a correlation, but we can see it as a positive trend. Not much to say here. So I would say, for technology, I would tell the SVP, I would just kind of keep an eye on it. There's really probably not much that we really want to put together as far as action plan or anything specific. So this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Here we can see that for office supplies that there's a pretty good correlation of the ratio between sales and profit. That it's a correlation going in this direction. But we see this south the southern south region selling office supplies. They really they had less sales, but really are on the same path in the profits. So really, we would want to understand and do more analysis on what are some of the operational business practices that this southern region is doing to sell office supplies. Because they're keeping overhead low, they sold less, but they're still, positively going here for $20,000. If they were up here and they only sold 20,000, they would be, spending too much. We would say, hey, what's going on? You're spending too much money. But here, they're below how much they're spending. So we would really want to figure out, what are they doing? Are they just staffing appropriately? Is there something that they're doing that the other regions aren't? I found the exact same trend in furniture sales. So the other regions had pretty solid ratio of sales to profit, positive correlation. And then we have here in the South region, really almost half of the overhead. So they made 10,000 in sales, they made 10,000 in profit for half of what they would have normally had to sell to get that much profit. So I would really stress the importance of understanding kind of the day-to-day business practices the Southern region is doing, and maybe try to figure out what they're doing and put it into practice at the other in the other regions. And I think that you would see the margins go up. All right, so this is the last section. I'll go through it quickly. I kind of took a while going through my visualizations, but just talking about the narrative visualization, the show, tell, and engagement. So show, as you can guess, is the visual aspect of the design, saying, pictures worth 1,000 words. But then, what are those words saying? And then that's when we look for the messaging in the narrative visualization to kind of tell the story. How are the images working together to tell the story of the data? And then 3, interactivity or engagement. And really, when someone's engaged and being able to move through and take part in the data, they're most likely going to take away, more than somebody who is, not engaged. So here's a couple of visualizations that I found that kind of tell a story. This is mental health in the UK. We noticed that men are substantially reporting less mental illness, but we know that's probably not true. There's probably more of an even spread of mental illness, just like most illnesses. But there could be a stigma of mental health, and so this is kind of painting the picture of basically that women are more likely to report symptoms. Here's the kind of the conflict in the Dominican Republic over the past several years, and it's showing kind of the impact of over time all the conflict and weak infrastructure, and actually how that downstream the effects on the availability of food. And so this kind of paints the whole picture of that conflict. And so real quickly, I'll go over some of these dashboards and what makes them good. And so this dashboard, I think, is good because it's kind of simple and it's interactive. And then, it's personal. So you can see your friends in the app. And so I think if you can add a social aspect, it makes more users want to interact and use the dashboard. I like this dashboard because it's simple, it's minimal, it tells you what you need. Here's your CPU output for your 2 different CPUs. And then also it has real-time data use, and then it has historical data. So you can see, is this normal, and what's the max output for the different systems that it's monitoring. This one again, I think that. Okay, if you see a glitch in the recording, it's because it cut me off. I ran out of time, which tells me that I need to wrap up. So, with this last visualization, I just really want to point out, why I think this one really is a successful dashboard is because it has all the elements that we would see in a normal dashboard, but it's layered with personalization, and then also, it has insights to other users and their kind of use of the dashboard, and that kind of interoperability I think is really interesting. And then also that it's kind of overlaid with a map in the back, some of which we've played with in Tableau. So, I just think it's interesting how they kind of combine all of these different elements, and it's visually pleasing. It's streamlined. It's it's a good color scheme. But that's why, some of the reasons why I think it is a successful dashboard. So let me double check, but I think that's it for my presentation. I appreciate you taking the time to review it and listen to me talk, and hopefully you found some of the insights I found interesting. Hopefully you found that too. All right, thank you.